Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for Magic is Real. This is the podcast where we talk about all things metaphysical and spiritual with a focus on spiritually transformative experiences. I am Shannon. I'm your host. I am a psychic medium and a human being. And before we start, I'd just like to ask that if you like this podcast, it would mean so much if you could just like this video, leave a comment below. It could be an emoji just to show support for the show. This is my passion project, but it does help get the word out that this podcast exists. This is something that's really important to me, and but more importantly, because the mission of the podcast is to support others, take the fear out of death, inspire, bring hope, not toxic positivity, but positivity and love to this world. So thank you so much. Today I have with me the lovely Angel Thomas. I am so honored to have met Angel, not really met, but in a Facebook group where Angel posted just this beautiful introduction to their services. Angel is a healer and a medium, spiritual coach. We hate to put labels on it, right? But and I was just so moved by every word that you said, Angel. And you've had some really interesting life experiences too, which I'm so excited to hear about. I wanted to first have you introduce yourself and talk about who you are, what kind of services you provide for other people, and then we're going to really dive deep into how we got there because I think your story, I feel like life story is just fascinating and interesting, and you just have such a beautiful heart. So thank you for showing up to share it with us.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. So a little bit about me, my services, I work in the quantum or ether realm. So when I go in to work with clients, I always like to find the root cause. I'm very much on finding the root cause and let's bring up that root and get rid of it. A lot of times we don't realize, but subconsciously or unconsciously, it's one thing we're holding on to. We're never holding on to a multitude of things, but the multitude of things are the block to keep us getting from to the root cause. So I work in the quantum realm to find the root cause so we can pull it up. And a lot of my clients have big transformation from that. I work with quantum timeline shifting, soul retrievals, which are my favorite. I do starseed readings. I'm able to see back your journey to this, to here and now, past lives through your Akashic records, through your galactic star chakra to see your galactic records. So I work a lot in the ethers. That's kind of what I do in a nutshell. And I'm a Reiki master, of course, and a quantum healer, of course.
That's beautiful. I'm a Reiki master too. I just don't practice it, so I practice it on myself occasionally. Um, how did Tell me about your background? Anything you're comfortable sharing? How did this child find their way to this career path? And I think you have military background, if I recall. So
Yes.
that's so interesting to me too. Is how do we go from that kind of a world to this kind of a world?
All right, I'll try to keep it short.
You don't
So,
even have, yeah. Your story is so interesting. So share whatever you want.
the most fascinating story, and I did a quantum healing to go back and see this, was at 9 months old. My mom, the babysitter was holding me. My mom, Uncle Johnny, and my Uncle Bobo were on the porch. And there was this cloud that flew down so low you could touch it. And I pointed at 9 months with a clear sentence. And I said, Uncle Johnny, Mama, Uncle Bobo, look, there goes God. And in that moment, my mama said, what did you say? I said, look, there goes God. And then the cloud just dissipated. And in that moment, my mom said that I saved her life, my Uncle Johnny's, and my Uncle Bobo's life in that moment. And I did a quantum healing to actually go back and see it, and I seen it. I could live that moment again. And so that was the first experience I had. Then when I was younger, I had all these imaginary friends that were really ETs, galactic beings, that I would talk with and I would tell my mom about. Um, of course, she was really big in the church. So, here comes the holy oil, the praying. And it would be funny because she would do that and they would still be looking at me and I'd be looking at them and I'm like, something ain't working. I don't know which one is it, but um, then at a young age, I had sleep paralysis where I would come out of my body. I remember getting up out of my body, going to turn my bedroom light on, it wouldn't come on. And I would look around the room and there would be all these galactic beings, tall, white, long hair, blonde eyes. Some would be blue, some would be fairies, some would be archangels, just standing in my room. And they would be working on my body, and I would jump back in my body and be screaming, but I'm paralyzed. And yet again, my mom would come in and she would start to pray. but I would watch these beings come through her and channel these light languages to me. And she never knew, she wouldn't remember while she was praying. And I would just be laying there like, okay, maybe I'm crazy. This went on until I was about 18. And then I got a scholarship to go to college and I begged. Well, backtrack. I had a car wreck when I was 17. I flipped my car, should have been dead. My car flipped in the air 3 times. And every time before the top hit, I would watch these beings swoop it over. And then it'd flip and they'd swoop it over. And then they finally just placed it in the medium. The only thing that came out of that car was a broken axle. And then there was one house on this street that I was on. And this lady was about 70 years old. She came outside. She said, I never come outside for anybody, but there was an angel that told me to come help you. So she came in, she gave me something to eat. I called my stepfather. He came and got me, and she shut her door. She says, you're the only person in 50 years I've ever opened my door to. And we went on. Fast forward, I went and played ball in college, but I begged. I was like, please let these gifts stop. I would see things before the people. I knew if my aunt was coming, she would call. I would come downstairs and say, Mom, Aunt Alice isn't coming, or Aunt such and such isn't coming. Why are they not coming? She's like, yes, they are. The phone would ring. And they would say they're not coming. And I was just going about my way. So I wanted to be normal at about 18, and I begged these gifts to stop, but they did. So fast forward, I played ball in college, went into the army, and I did a deployment. And I can remember people coming up to me saying, you're a healer. Don't let this person die. Come heal this person. God has shown me you're supposed to heal him. And I was like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to stay low, you know. And then a lady walked up to me. She said, I've seen your life running back. It's been hard. She said, you were sitting here with a purpose. She said, it's not going to stop. It's not going to go away. You need to step into it. And then I didn't. And from there, my life went downhill. Um, I started having back pain, but there was no pain, no, nothing. I started having leg pain. There was nothing. I lost, I was down to 120 pounds. No reason why. And then I just started doing my healing. Fast forward, here I am 15 years later. That's the short version.
Thank you for sharing that. What did you discover was the cause of the pain?
My Kundalini was awakened. And because I did not acknowledge the healing that I had a lot of trauma. I didn't get into my trauma, but it was a lot of trauma. That trauma was starting to affect my body.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I was when you were describing it, I wondered if you had fibromyalgia, but it sounds like you're better now and
No
you're
issues.
no issues. Yeah. But either way, when you're holding something back, I've talked about how I lost my voice. I'm a voice actor, and I lost my voice for 5, 6 years. I mean, I could talk, but I had muscle tension, dysphonia, and what I've learned about it is that I wasn't using my voice. I mean, I was using my voice to work, but I wasn't speaking up, and I wasn't spiritual necessarily.
Mhm.
I wasn't using my voice to be of service in the way that I was meant to. But I also was not speaking up in relationships. I still have trouble with that. But being assertive, I have a really hard time when I'm with anger, and I would stuff it and hold it, and so it does affect our bodies, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I had Graves' disease. They were watching
Yeah.
my
That's your
thyroid,
thyroid. Yeah.
and then it was the same reason. I wasn't doing this work.
Oh, how interesting. Okay, this is really interesting to me because not as soon as, but when I started doing this work, I healed too.
It,
So, can you talk about that?
um, I actually didn't want to. I was still working 9 to 5. Every month I was gonna put in my 2 week notice until I got fired by accident. And then they called me back the next day and then it was like, no, but every day I was going to the hospital, they were drawing blood, watching for a thyroid storm. Because I kept saying, I'm gonna leave my job this month.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta pay. I just didn't have trust in myself because even though I was doing it, I just didn't trust it. Like I was already doing group channeling events, calling in galactic beings for people, clearing houses, but this as a career, I was like, no, I'm gonna stay in this 3D construct working. And my thyroid got worse and worse. And the second I stepped into it by force, it just hit.
Right. So I'd love to hear about how you stepped into it. What did that entail? So you've got this 9 to 5 job, which is like in the earthly 3D, very 3D type work, I assume. And then what started happening, or did you just decide, like, I'm going to start giving readings, or what? Tell me about that.
So I worked all day, and then they called me in the office and they gave me a severance packet. They
Oh,
said your time's up. I was like, but it was interesting because that week I was working, my back hurt so bad. The second they handed me that severance packet, I felt my kundalini arise, and there was this golden light that surrounded me, and I cried with joy. And I was happy, and I had no more pain in my body yet again. Um, and so I went home, and I was like, okay, I got to get a job. So I applied for jobs. I applied for McDonald's. They told me I was overqualified. Dollar General wouldn't hire me.
yeah.
I could not find unemployment kept getting it was nothing I could do. I would, that would I would go to run Spark and they would be busy. I'd have no clients.
Say, I've tried Spark too. Yep, I did all that stuff. This is so similar because it's like you keep coming up against these blocks,
Mhm.
and it's because the universe is trying to push you out of that. They're like that. No, come, and but it's a gentle.
Yeah.
Okay, keep. You don't know it at the time, but you're actually being redirected.
I don't feel like it was gentle because I almost lost my home.
Oh yeah, that's not gentle.
I almost lost everything. And it took me saying, what do I need to do? And then this group popped up and I became an approved reader. And then next thing I know, I had clients and everything started to just,
Yeah. Well, what were had you practiced readings before? I mean, like, so how did like I guess the question is like for me, I as a medium, right? I studied to be because I mean I already had the ability, but I didn't know that I had the ability really. I didn't know I knew I was highly sensitive, but I didn't actually know that I could be a medium. And then I started reading books when I lost my voice by a lot of mediums, and they all said, you can learn this. I'm like, wait, you can? I thought you had to just, I mean, I always was highly, now I look back and I'm like, oh, I was a medium, but I didn't really realize it because mine wasn't as blatant as yours was, right? Like I didn't see entities. I did have night terrors as a kid, like screaming. My mom said she was terrified at night because she'd hear me screaming bloody murder in the other room. And I was 2 years old, constantly waking up with night terrors, but I don't remember why. And so for me, it was a intentional. Like I'm going to study doing this. I'm going to try it. But did you start with like friends, or did you start to get messages for people and ask if you could pass them on? How did that start before you were like, okay, I'm going to do this professionally?
I could walk up to someone, people would come up to me and they would ask me, and I would tell them, like, and even I can't count the number of homeless people that ask me for advice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would see them 2, 3 years later, they got a job, they got a house, their credit's fixed because of the advice. And it was just be me reading their energy. And then I would do these group channelings, 10, 15 people I would channel and then answer questions for them. So it wasn't so much, and it would be sometimes it'd be mediumship, sometimes it would be read their Akashic records or read this, and I would just naturally do it. I would have people come up to me that wasn't homeless. They would ask me questions, and I would say, "Well, let me see," and I would just close. And whenever I close my eyes, I see it. I see the universe. So
Yeah.
I would just read it, and I'm like, well, you got this going on. You need to do this, this, and this. And I see them a month or two later, and they're like, yo, my life is better. And I'm like, oh, awesome.
So whatever you're doing is working, you're channeling.
Yeah. And that
When,
was
yeah,
young. That was at a young age. I was in my 20s. I've done it all my life.
yeah. So you just knew instinctively to what to do.
Mhm.
When you say that you close your eyes and you see the universe, what do you mean by that?
The universe is geometrical patterns. So when I close my eyes, if I was to call your higher self forward, it would be a geometrical pattern made up of divine feminine, divine masculine. Within that is a beautifully formed web. I can see where it's broken, where it's not broken, what age, what the trauma is, why you have this trauma, how you need to fix it, and what the main trauma is, and why it's not online. So everything is geometry to me. So when I close my eyes, it all looks like a beautiful geometrical pattern to me, and I
Which it
can see it.
is.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I know that. I know that. I know that, and I've seen it when I've taken psilocybin.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not like some revelation. I think a lot of people know about sacred geometry and everything's connected. But
Hmm.
like last year, I was in Arizona. I lived in Arizona, and I was lying underneath the stars in the woods, and I'm like, I was on mushrooms, and I'm like, all of a sudden, this was so funny. Then I saw the web, right? Like every little
Hmm.
star, every branch of every tree, like I already knew this, but it was like visualizing it. was different.
Mhm.
And I literally saw line from thing to thing to thing to thing, whether it was like a star or a branch or a tree. And I looked up, and funny enough, what was so funny is um, they all became Rastafarian flags for some reason. But well, which was interesting because I wasn't really hallucinating. I was just seeing some stuff, and I was like, and I was hearing, this is, we are all one, everything is one. And I'm like, I know, I mean, duh, I know that already. But the way I was seeing it, I described it to a friend the following day who's now on the spirit side. And he said, have you heard of Indra's Web? Is that what it's called? Do you know about Indra's
Mhm.
Web? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I said, I hadn't heard of that. I just got chills. Hi, Kenny. Um, he used to be a big fan of this podcast. And ooh, he just gave me such big chills. So he said, look at, or he sent me a like an image of it, and I looked it up, and I'm like, that's exactly what I was seeing. So I knew that, but I didn't actually know that was like a universal thing that anyone who sees the universe sees and
Mhm.
understands. So if you, I know it's, as a medium, I understand. Like I know when you say see, it's not necessarily literal, but so if you, angel, look at this, whatever that geometric pattern is, and you said, you can see like where it's broken. Is it like visual for you, or do you just know it? Is it like
I actually see with my eyes.
you do? That's what I wanted to know.
I see with my eyes. So I'll close my eyes and it kind of grounds and center. I go within, I go to my heart space, and then I open my eyes and I see it. And I'll see you may now every now and then see me look off or who look up at something here that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
But then it comes in as a knowing. And sometimes I hear it. Sometimes they will just talk to me and I'm like, yo, I don't really want to talk. So
Yeah.
and I'll just listen to them. So you may see me lean my head over or pull out an earbud. I'm listening to what they're saying to
To what
me.
they're saying. Yeah. Do you, how do you know who it is that's talking to you?
So it's energy. So when the energy comes through, the first thing I'll feel for is it soft? Is it heavy? Is it masculine? Is it feminine? And I'll feel into it. And if it feels feminine, then I'll say how far back. 1, 2, give me a geometrical number. And they'll tell me 1 or 2 generations, and then I'll know who I'm talking to. And then a lot of people, I don't do a lot of mediumship just because
Yeah.
so many people come through. Like I'm like, I see everything. I don't have time to talk to all your family members, so I don't do
Yeah.
mediumship often. But when they do, a lot of people ask their names. But when energy crosses over, it has no name. It's just energy. So I read
Mm-hmm.
the energy of that. So I never. That's why. Another reason I don't do mediumship too.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I love doing mediumship, but I think it's because I'm such a social butterfly. I love people, and I'm like, tell me all about yourself, which is why I have a podcast. I'm like, oh my God, Lucy just told me this. Like, I love all that, like family stories and stuff like that. But I actually struggle. Well, I don't know that I struggle. I don't quite know about connecting with higher beings in terms of like spirit guide readings, which is something that I've been wanting to practice. So, actually, not that I have time right now, but I've been wanting to sort of practice on people to see how I know. Like, if I'm getting information, is it coming from an angel? Is it coming from your spirit guide? And if you'd like, if you want to talk about what is there a difference? Like, are there, like, what's a spirit guide versus an angel versus your higher self versus God versus ascended masters?
Oh yeah, the frequency feels different. When I'm
Okay.
talking to a spirit guide, you'll notice you'll feel the frequency of an ancestor or mediumship.
Yeah.
But when it's a spirit guide, there's a different energy and you feel it differently. For me, I feel it on the back of my neck.
I do too.
So I'm like,
I feel
okay,
it,
this
well,
is
top of my head, back top of my head.
so that's a spirit guide because they're coming through the crown into the heart. So next you'll feel it in your heart. You'll feel the message resonate in your heart.
Oh my
That's a
gosh,
spirit guide.
that makes so much sense. Do you
Now,
like I get it in the back of my head, and then it goes runs down my right arm or my leg.
so if it's your right side, most time it's a masculine spirit guide. See if it resonates on the left, that's your feminine. Your left side's feminine, right side's masculine. So that's how you can feel in the energy. That's how I can feel the
That's how you
difference.
do. Yeah. I feel like I only get it on my right side ever. Like for some reason it's all the energy's always down here. It's just something I don't know. That's so interesting. Um yeah,
And
I
then
was like, what were you just
I
receiving?
do, I
I'm
do
just
that. It was because and then what I received for you is your right side is like do you tap with your left side? You tap your finger.
Mm-mm.
Pay attention, because I bet your
Okay.
finger twitches, and that's gonna
Okay.
be that's your because they showed me your finger twitching. Like
Thank you.
you might be writing, and then you feel the energy, and then you feel a twitch or something.
Oh,
It's gonna be like a
interesting.
twitch.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it's so cool how my whole life I never felt this. And only when I chose to do this work did I start feeling them all the time.
Hmm.
And so I kind of wonder what that is. But I would love to know too what your thoughts are on why do you think that some people like you are so consciously aware or no, sorry. I think we all have these abilities, right? But
Hmm.
obviously some of us are more sensitive to
Hmm.
the energies. First question is did you have a traumatic birth?
I did.
Because my theory, I ask because it's usually proven true. Um, your and who knows if it's the chicken or the egg, right? But it's like if you have a traumatic birth, often the soul leaves the body. You may not have a remembrance. You may have a remembrance of that. I don't know, but um, people who have traumatic births tend to be highly, highly tapped into the other side. So, like, I had my pest control guy here, and he was in my putting down rat traps. I'm sorry, I love rats. And he's like, "There's a spirit in here." I said, "How did you know that?" He's like, "I don't know. I just feel spirits all the time." And I said, "Did you have a traumatic birth?" He said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "You had a near death experience?" He's like, "I did." He's like, "How did you know that?" I'm like, "Cause this is what I do." And so I was curious about that. And why you? You know?
I don't know. I ask that all the time. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And the only answer I ever get is just stay in flow. So I'm like, cool. I don't need to know. I'm just gonna keep
Yeah.
going forward.
And it may just be that your soul remembers. It may just be that you were supposed to do this work.
I feel like it's
I
my
think.
plan. My soul picked this journey, and I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. My soul's driving, and I'm just having fun and flowing with it.
Yeah, isn't it? It is really fun. I
Mhm.
do you find? I mean, yeah, that's why this is called Magic is Real. It's so much fun when you realize that this is real. This isn't fantasy. This isn't
Yes.
magical thinking. Um, and it sounds like you do set boundaries. You said like sometimes spirit tries to communicate with you, and you're like, not now, not working, or maybe just not even wanting to commune right now. I just want to be in
Hmm.
myself. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that kind of. Because for me, I could live in that world all the time. It's like I want to live there a lot, right? But we're here for a reason. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of why you think we're here. What are we doing here? What is the meaning of life in this particular space?
Construct. I think we're here to figure out what unconditional love for self is. I think we're here to break all the systematic systems we've been taught, right? A prime example, if you have siblings when you're growing up, you always been taught to share with your siblings, give to your siblings, do this, right? But now as an adults, we're taught to give to ourselves, but we don't know how to give to ourselves because we don't know what it feels like to give to ourselves, even as most adults, right? They'll do for everybody else for themselves because we've been trained. So that's just an example. So I feel like we're here to learn what unconditional love for self is. Once we learn that, then we reach coagulation. Then we reach as above, so below, as within, so without, because the same love we give ourselves is what we give everything else. So I feel like that's what our purpose is here. I feel like we make it complicated because it's not that there's a lot of fear. A lot of people feel like there's fear in the world, but I feel like people just don't love themselves. When you don't love yourself, then it presents itself as fear. So it's a bunch of it's people that don't love themselves that present as fear. But if you look at the root cause of most things, it's because people lack love and empathy for themselves. So that's our
100%.
purpose. That is our purpose. And so in the work we do, I feel like our job, which is a lot of what my program is and what I do, is just to help you love yourself again. Because once you love yourself, then you become limitless. And then and one of my favorite sayings is, and this came from, I had his name until I said, but he said something one day that really stuck with me. To become nothing is to become everything. Because when you become nothing, you realize you already are everything. And trees are nothing until we call them a tree. They're just there.
Oh, I love that. I had to
So
let
I
that
feel
sink in for a minute. Yeah, that's really, really cool. Um, I agree. Yeah, and it's just it's so sad because well then here's the other thing, right? So if we're floating around in this other dimension or wherever dimensions we reside in outside of these bodies. Why do we need to come here to learn self love if we're already love everything over there? Like, why do we come here when we could just stay there and just float around and be in bliss and self love and be pure light beings?
We chose to come here to experience this. We
Yeah.
knew what was going to happen this time. We knew it was the Great Awakening. We knew we had a purpose. So we were like, hey, look, send me. I'll go. I'll go. And, I say all the time, my soul could have just put this in an email cloud up in the clouds and I would have got the message and done my job. But
Yeah, exactly.
we had to come here to have this experience. So once you figure out what the experience is you chose to have, then you find peace in everything. And for me, my experience is just to have unconditional love for self. And my childhood, I didn't understand that, but now I do and I see.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Did you I love because I'm writing a book about this self love because I'm a sex and love addict. So I my book is about sex recovery from addiction, but through the spiritual lens. And it's a teaching memoir. It's not about me because no
Uh,
one knows who I am. It's to help other people to find self love, and I'll pose this question to you, whatever comes to mind. I mean, one of the things I write about is okay, love yourself. Great. What does that mean? Like, what do I do? How do I do that? Right. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on if someone's like, but what do you mean love myself? How?
I think this question has so many different layers because we're all on so many different journeys. But all I can do is give you the example of how I love myself. I do
Yes,
my work
please.
during the day. And you asked earlier, what do I mean by I cut my gifts off? Well, because I love myself and I want to be present in the here and now. Something that I do at 5:30 every day is I don't take any more clients and I play video games. That's how I love myself because it's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's funny, my partner always says, you don't care about nothing after 5:30. I said, no, the house got burned down. I'm playing video games because this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And by being able to say no is another way to love yourself. So many times we say yes because we feel like we're obligated to. But no is one of your greatest powers because when you can say no, you empower yourself to set healthy boundaries. What are your boundaries? Having boundaries for yourself. So this question has so many different layers, right? For someone else, like for you, loving yourself could be singing at the top of your lungs for an hour when you get done, just letting your voice go. But it's what do you find loving and fun in doing? Like what excites you? What makes your soul dance that gives you freedom to be free, to feel what freedom feels like for yourself?
That's beautiful. Did you also, I'm just curious, do therapy or anything like that on your own journey? Or did these revelations kind of come with the spiritual awakening? Like, because obviously your soul was like, we're going to go do some trauma and we're also going to experience war. You actually, were you like in combat when you were in the,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what it sounded like. And and maybe that was partly your soul being like, we're going to do combat twice. We're going to come to Earth. That's one. We're going to experience trauma and then you're like, I'm going to go into combat for real. And
Yes.
so, and that's also a lot of trauma, regardless, like, because you're having to suppress a lot of human emotion
Hmm.
to be able to do that job. Like, I could not do that job. Like, I could not do it, but you have to be in a state of somewhat detachment, I would imagine. And so, yeah, what was it just sort of things that came to you as life experience happens?
No, actually, that was part of my awakening too, because when I came, I had, when I was 12, I was institutionalized for anger because I was seeing all of this and I felt like nobody understood. And I lashed out pretty bad at my parents and they took me to a mental health institutionalized me. So my sixth grade year, I spent it in the mental hospital because I couldn't. And that was my first time getting put on medicine. Thank goodness my mom, when I came out, she was like, you ain't taking this. We're just going to put you in sports. And that's how we're going to work with this. So, but then when I came back from the military, I did go see a therapist and I had boxes of medicine I was taking, but my body was steadily shutting down. My
Mm-hmm.
brain was shutting down. My physical body was shutting down. I was not functioning. So um, I just took myself off of it. And then I went to see therapy, but I always tell people if therapy helps you, it helps you. But for me, I felt like they just sit your trauma in front of you and then gave you medicine.
It's honestly, I mean, I think everyone should have some sort of therapy, but when it comes to trauma therapy, specific like PTSD, for example, talking about it actually makes the symptoms
Feel
worse.
worse.
I think it's important to also have someone to talk with, that you can just dump on, because you don't want to do that to your friends and family, right? And to help you process. But at the same time, with with actual trauma, the it's talking about it is actually not the way. It's actually
Mhm.
rewiring your neural pathways through EMDR therapy or other forms of, which is my favorite, but again, I'm not a doctor, but that's something I have
Mhm.
seen people benefit from directly in my life, like people that were severely traumatized and were like, it's not going to work for me, and watched them completely change and watched them say,
Mhm.
oh my God, this works, because it actually deals with the neural pathways in your brain.
Mhm.
Um, because it isn't about talking about it. Because when you have PTSD, you'll talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it and just keep burrowing those
Reliving
neural,
it.
yeah, reliving it. And that's unfortunately what PTSD does already. So we don't want to keep reliving it. We want to say, okay, that happened, and let's redirect that. Let's not stuff it, but let's kind of push that down a different channel so it doesn't keep cycling in your body. Um, yeah,
I kind of dealt with it though, because I had PTSD. They labeled me as bipolar anxiety, ADHD. It was a multitude of things.
yeah,
But what I realized, the biggest realization for me was I cannot pick up and physically go back to the instances that happened.
yeah,
But if I stay in the here and now, when I'm triggered, I have to ask myself, what am I learning? What do I need to see? Which one of my chakras is not aligning right now? And by going inward and not facing the trauma itself, but facing the emotion in the moment gave me healing, because all I had to do is ask myself, what did I need to learn? And when I seen it, it started to heal, and I could physically feel that chakra open up because now I've released it. And then from there, of course, I would clean my energy field, ground, and that's kind of what helped me. So do I feel like PTSD ever goes away? No. 4th of July every year, I'm jumpy for about 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah.
And New Year's, but I've learned to see the emotion. And that's the big thing. That's why this journey is not easy. This journey is a hard journey. The hardest part is facing these emotions that keep coming up and coming up and coming up. But what we normally do is we suppress them and put them in our unconscious mind. So our ego starts to lead because our ego protects us versus the higher self. So you have an unbalanced energy field that's going on. You're leading more from your masculine than a balanced masculine and feminine. So we don't want to bury it in the unconscious. We want to pull it to the conscious and be aware and then work through the emotion, not the event. So that's what I learned. And that's kind of what I work with people on. We don't have to relive it. Let's just work the emotion.
Wow, yeah. And can you share a bit about how that works? I know that it's very specific to the person, and so I'm sure everything you do, but it's going to be tailored for that person.
Yes.
Um, and so I would assume too you use sort of different modalities based on what your intuition is telling you they need. So if you see, like you said, I see the universe, I see the grid, and then I can see that they had this specific trauma. How do we acknowledge it, thank it for teaching us, and then take it out so that it isn't eating us alive?
So one thing I pride myself on, because if we have a session, you might not be triggered at that moment. We're having a session, right? But I'm going to help you bring it. I'm going to give you the tools to bring it forward, these emotions. Um, with my mentorships and everything, I tell people my phone call doesn't end from this one-on-one. I leave an open line. So that way when my clients do get triggered, they can say, hey, I'm triggered. Then I could say, okay, here's the tool. Tell me why you're triggered. And I can start, when you start asking them questions, then they start to see it for themselves. So you empower them to see it for themselves. So sometimes it involves that. Sometimes I have to go into a quantum realm and clear it for them. And I'll go clear it for them. And then I'll say, okay, I've cleared it. You're calm. Tell me what you see. And then we'll work through it that way. And I think that's a big thing. So I use a bunch of different modalities. Sometimes I use Reiki. Sometimes I use quantum healing. Sometimes I do a timeline shift. Because sometimes in a timeline shift really is this, if this is a past life, if we were back on Andromeda and you were part of the war and you're having night terrors of the war, that's not any purpose of you right now. So we just need to heal that from the quantum realm and let it go. It does not bother you. So it just depends really. Um,
That's interesting. Yeah, I would love to hear more about that, like the timeline shift and how you. I just love to hear more about it. If you can think of, if you can kind of go a little even deeper than that with and how do you clear that, or how do you see it? And also, if we have all these other lifetimes, um, if we have all these other lifetimes, of course, we've just got why do some people have these lifetimes and maybe we don't remember anything or have any of it affect us, and then other times it comes to haunt us again in this lifetime?
So I think like a lot of the indigo kids and starseed children, they're living this repeating cycle because time it only exists here. So these same cycles are happening there. And I think it's a ripple effect that they're feeling from that past that's pushing it forward into the present. Because how many times you have said you've seen people or talk with them and they say, hey, I don't have anything bothering me, or this isn't bothering me, and I don't know where this is from. And you're like, it's not even this life. That's because it's rippling, because time ripples.
Oh,
So
interesting.
when it ripples, it can ripple forward, backwards, left, right. It just ripples. It does not matter where it goes. So sometimes we can go in and redirect that ripple to where it's not affecting. And then that allows you to heal it in the here and now. When you heal it in the here and now, you ripple it back to there and you heal that whole timeline, past, present, and future. So that's how we shift the timeline. We shift the energy, but yet we pull the emotion up here now and heal it in the present, and that ripples through time and creates a new ripple.
I love the way you said that because I can imagine that. I can visualize that.
Mhm.
And then in terms of when we clear energy, what does that really mean? How do we do it? Is it intention? Because I often say that a lot of times, like spirit connection. People will be like, "Well, is my grandpa here?" I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, the minute you even think of your grandpa, grandpa's here, because
Mhm.
you just set the intention, and I just set the intention to be a clear channel for you. I just set the intention that the messages I bring through are in everyone's highest and best good and meant to heal, and that only beings of light are present. So I always wonder about energy healing in general. Like, is it just being like, go away, be gone? I rebuke you. Like, how do we
That
actually, like, even with Reiki, I'm certified, but I still don't quite understand. I'm like, but I do understand it but I also am like, so am I just being like, can you take it away?
So
I,
you have to, how I start, I reset the nervous system to calm. Most of the time when people are in trauma, they're not calm. So I reset the nervous system through things maybe like breath work or
oh,
sound.
yeah.
Once you calm a person down, then you can start to gently make
Mm,
them aware of the trauma. Once they're aware of it, then it's easier for people to clear it. If you present it to them when they're still either in fight or flight or not in flow or, however ungrounded, you can't present anybody with anything. Imagine if someone came to you and you were upset and they were like, well, let's just do this. You're gonna be like, I ain't doing that.
yeah.
Like, no. So you regulate the nervous system, calm the body, and then you gently bring the trauma back up. And you could do that in Reiki by pulling the trauma up in the energy field and saying, hey, and once you do that, you say, hey, here's some tools to help release this. And that's when the intention comes in. Here's your intention. You make the conscious decision to release this now. However, if you don't consciously choose to, you're gonna stay in the same cycle.
Mm, yeah. That makes so much sense. And that's what I do. When I practice Reiki on my cat or on friends or whatever, it's more of just, I'm asking for support. I'm
Mhm.
asking, and uh, what's never really resonated with me is like this: why do we have to use symbols? Do we really have to use them, or is that just like a tradition? Do you know what I'm like? Do I? Because it's like when we give a reading, do I have to light a candle? No, I do it because it's a ritual for me. Do I have to
Mhm.
hold crystals? No, but I like it. I like having that around me. It makes me feel like I'm doing my work now. Do you use things like that? Like, are you into crystals and candles and all this
Yeah.
and all the and the sage? Yeah, I love it.
Well,
But yeah, tell me about that.
only time I really use them is when I'm doing rituals for someone. If someone wants a manifestation spell or a abundance spell or a protection spell, I'll use them. But for the most part, and I light a candle for myself when I meditate in the morning because I just like to have that fire going. But as far as doing them with readings or anything, I don't generally use them. I like to just tap in. But if I'm doing some work for someone, I'll use crystals. My altar is full of crystals.
Yeah, I love
So
them.
when I meditate with the crystals. But generally doing readings, no, I'll ground, I'll go outside. I like to hug a tree first.
Oh, that's lovely. Where do you live?
I live in Alabama.
Oh, okay. So you're from Alabama, so you're still
Hmm.
there, yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, lots of
just
nature.
and cows and chickens
Yeah,
and
yeah. I love. I don't know. I love that life. I just do. That's so nice. And on the topic of trees and nature, everything has energy.
Hmm.
So, this is just something I like to think about. Um, Consciousness, like trees, flowers. Do you also receive messages from
Hmm.
from they're not inanimate because they're very much alive, right?
Yes.
But if they speak to you, what do they say?
I'm a farmer, so I have
Oh,
a
lovely.
half-acre herb garden, half-acre flower garden, and a 1 acre veggie garden. So before I clip any vegetables or herbs or anything, I'll say, "Show me the ones you want me to take." And normally, when I come out the next day at the stem where I can clip it at, it'll be a brown mark. And then I know, and then I don't even have to clip it. I just pick it and it comes right off. It'll literally give it to you. So that's how I talk to them. That's kind of what they tell me. Other than that, I don't really talk a lot. Trees do. I'll talk. Trees have this deep light language. I have this massive oak tree in my front yard. It's huge. It's been there, and he talks to me quite a bit. What did I ask him the other day? I felt I was in an integration. I asked him, I said, "How long am I going to be integrating?" He says, "Until you stop rushing integration." I was like, "Oh, okay, fine."
Oh, good one.
So
Oh,
he's
snap.
wise.
Total.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. What about animals? What's your experience with animal communication? Because obviously you're a farmer.
My animals to communicate. I lost 2 goats this year, and I knew they were going to leave before, but I tried I lost a total of 4 animals this year, and I knew they were all going to leave, but I tried my best to save them. And those animals were so mad at me because they didn't want to be here. It was not their choice to
Oh,
stay.
yeah.
So they literally would pass when I would walk away. Like they would, like one of my baby goats was up. She was walking around. She had just eaten, and I went in the house and came back out, and she was gone. I was like, "Why did you do that?" She's like, "I wasn't supposed to be here."
Oh,
And I was like, "Okay." Same thing with my male goat. He ate, he was up, he pooped, he played, and then he just passed. And nothing was wrong with them. They were healthy. They said, "Hey, it's not our journey to be here." And I was like, "Okay." So I had to
yeah.
ask them, what was the purpose? And they said, "You don't need goats. You need to focus on herbs and flowers." So I sold all my goats. Uh,
Oh, my niece had some goats, but they rehomed them because they got very attached to my niece, and she was like Mary had a little lamb. Like they would literally follow her to school one
they
day,
do.
and then when she would go to school, because she was at the time like maybe middle school or maybe a little older, but they couldn't live without her because they
Hmm.
think you're part of they think that you're like the head of the pack and you can't leave them alone, and they would just bleat all day
Holler all
and
day.
holler Elvis and Jack, and they found him a loving home, don't worry. But yeah, goats get attached to you, and ain't nobody got time for that. Like I can't spend my whole day with you. I mean, I love them, but like you know um
Gosh.
yeah, that's so cool. I also just wanted to know, in your daily life with all of the kind of communication happening, and like are you someone that you said you see a lot with your eyes? Do you see actual, like, do you see auras? Do you see, what do things look like to you? Like, does everything look kind of, what I'd say normal? Like, you probably are like, I don't even, this is my normal.
Mm.
What does like the world look like to you? And do you see spirits with your eyes too?
Yes. The world looks interesting to me. It looks different. I see everything for what it is. So, I see the truth for the truth. I see a story for a story, but I understand if you tell me a story, that's your story, and I can't call it a story because that's what you believe is your perception. But I understand that's your perception. I don't know if that makes sense. I know that was kind of deep. So I have this saying, nobody can really tell a lie because I understand how you see it from your perception. And so I see the world differently. But when I see beings, like I'll be sleeping at night and I'll feel them come in because it'll be like this. I mean, my room has no fan. It's like this gush of air. Whoosh. And I'll open my eyes and I'll look up and there'll be this tall, luminous being standing over me with crystal eyes and long hair. And I'll know now, I'll know then. I'll say, okay, I can choose to travel with you or I can go back to sleep. And I'll just say, I'm closing this energy. I do not want to travel, and they'll go away and I'll go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because my partner knows when it
I
happens.
was
She'll
just
go,
going to ask about your partner, and I was going to say, not to be personal, but like, if you're in bed with your partner,
hmm.
does she see them,
No,
feel
she feels
them?
it.
Yeah.
She'll say, roll over, you're finna go somewhere. And I'm like, and like she knows before it happens too. She's used to it though, because I've had spirits when I've closed my channels off, I'll close my chakras and my channels off. They've knocked on the front door. They'll knock on the door. And she'll come get me. There's a spirit want to talk to you at the door. I said, I'm not open. And
Yeah.
I'll just send a voice, telepathic, go away. I'm not tomorrow, come back tomorrow. But they've knocked on doors, they've knocked bowls over in my house if I don't want to talk to them. So it's hilarious. And I'll just watch them. I'll literally see them with my eyes. I'll be like, look at that person over there. You see them? And my partner will be like, oh yeah. I said, watch what they're finna do. And we're both with our eyes looking at them.
That's it. Yeah, I wonder that because I didn't know. I mean, even if your partner isn't a psych, I don't know if your partner is mediumistic. It sounds like it. But
Mm-hmm.
also, even if someone isn't necessarily a medium, but their partner has these strong experiences, like my ex was like, "That's fine, but I don't want any ghosts. In, don't be bringing any ghosts in here." And I said to him, "I'm like, they're not ghosts. They're spirits, and they're here because they love you. So get over it. I'm not bringing them in. I don't think I'm bringing them in. They're already there. I'm just perceiving them. But I,
Yes.
unlike you, I don't see them. I will just." Like I said, I'll get that tingle. I'll get spirit tingles and I'll just know someone's there. And then I'll be like, who is it? And then the name in my head is who it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I just
Yeah.
know who it is, but I don't, so so to me, it's a feeling, but I don't, in fact, so I've asked them, I'm like, I am so willing to see you. I want to see you, but it might be that they know I'd be afraid.
It's a vibrational thing.
Yeah.
So you say you trying to work on talking with guides. So everything has a different vibration. Spirit guides have a vibration. Then when you go up to ascended masters, when you go up to galactic beings, the vibration is higher. So what you want to do, if you want to see them, you want to invite them into your energy to get used to their vibration.
Okay.
Because when you get to ascended masters and galactic beings, their vibration is much higher and it's much stronger, and you can feel the pull on your energy field.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's such an interesting thing. I just wanted to talk about galactic beings too. Because I used to think that spirituality and those things were separate. Like I didn't realize I used to think like, oh, UFOs and all that stuff, that's just lore. But I kind of believed in spirits. And now I understand they're all part of the same system, universe, whatever. And I actually had, ooh, chills. I actually had couple of experiences with them when I was a kid, but didn't know what it was. And, but I saw it with my eyes, that was the one and only time. And one was I was 14 years old or so, turned off the light to go to bed. I was wide awake, and a now I know it was an interdimensional being, but it was like the color of that light behind you, like
Mm-hmm.
glowing blue, electric
Pleiadian.
blue. Thank you. That's what I kind of wonder about. I kind of think that. I got chills about that too. This was in the 80s. So we did not have phones. We did not have a source of light that would
Mm-hmm.
have been. So I was baffled because we're still using like the phone with the coil. You got to coil your
I
finger
have
around
one
it.
of them.
There was no technology. I lived in the woods in Connecticut. And this thing appears and it's like the size of maybe like a little bit bigger than like not as big as a grapefruit, but like maybe bigger than an apple. And it just appears right above me. Like it pops into form out of quote unquote nowhere, and it just hovers over me, but it was like Tinkerbell and it was looking at me. It didn't have a face, but it was like curious, like kind of tilting its
Hmm.
head, I guess. And it was like zipping back and forth playfully, but because I had no reference for this and I didn't believe in this stuff, I didn't know what it was. I screamed and it just shot straight up in the air and like vanished, right? Yes, exactly that. And I called my mom in and she's like, "Your eyes are just playing tricks on you." My mom is mediumistic, but she didn't wasn't try she just really didn't know what it I mean she genuinely didn't know what it was. And then actually I think it was a couple years before that I looked out in my backyard and there was a craft which I thought was a helicopter. I was like, oh, it has 3 points. There's like red, blue. It was primary colors. They looked pretty basic. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. It's like a helicopter, but it has like a red, a blue, and maybe a green, if I recall. I was like 10, and I looked at it, and I said to my friend, I was on the phone. I'm like, something, I'm like, there's a helicopter in my backyard, but it's weird because it's not moving. And then I'm like, it's not making any sound though. That's where, and then it literally just went and disappeared, completely disappeared. So I would love to hear your experiences or anything you want to say about that. First of all, I'm like, why can't I see them again? I want that.
You're supposed to channel them.
Because the question I had for you about that is, did do they, because I believe now that they come for you, specifically come for you, but you know what I mean, like
Hmm.
they're there for you to
Hmm.
get your attention. And then sometimes they just show up and there are a lot of people around, so a lot of people witness them. But
Hmm.
when they do things like that, like now I'm like, they were trying to get my attention, but I didn't know. I was 10. And what, yeah, I don't even know what the question is other than like, what is that? What are they doing? And I'd love to hear any experiences you'd like to share about your own.
So you're supposed to trans channel them. You might want to, I don't know if you do that or if you
I
have,
don't, but yeah.
so it's the Pleiadian star system, the Pleiadian seven sisters that you're supposed to channel.
Okay.
Um, Heavy on the channel, they said.
Okay.
But for me, it was just as I was younger, I would just be playing. Same thing. I would be playing with them. They would be green, blue, red, white, and they were my best friends. And I thought everybody could see them. And
Oh,
we would travel the universe. When I would go to sleep at night, I got used to coming out of my body. So I would come up out of my body and we would travel. I think I wrote some blogs. There's so many questions I would ask, like, why is there so much pain? Why is this? I wanted to understand. So I asked a lot of questions and I got a lot of information and that I still haven't put out yet. I'm kind of nervous about it because it's kind of deep. So, but I can remember going to different places outside this dimension. I can remember going to Sirius and seeing the crystal planet. I can remember going to see the water planet and understanding. And everybody's so happy on these planets. There's no ruling hierarchy. They're just living, right? And I used to ask, why don't we do this on Earth? They used to say you have to learn. I was like, well, what are we learning? That's like you're here to teach. And I was like, what am I supposed to be
teach what?
teaching? Right. Like to this day, I asked, I was like, what do you want me to teach? I was like, okay, I'm just going to teach healing. How about that? They're like, okay, so anything else, just let me know. Um, but it's so deep, the stuff that I've seen as I traveled this multiverse to understand the geometry, the grid lines, the connection. Not only are is Earth connected, and when you connect everything connects to the planets, the stars, different dimensions. It's all one big massive system that I've seen, and I'm just like, whoa. So it's interesting. So just imagine like the cable, like the telephone lines they're running. I mean the electrical lines. How
Yeah.
everything should same is how it all is connected. And the more I traveled, the more I understood. But it wasn't till and I haven't traveled like that in a long time because A, I just don't want to know anything else right now. I'm like, it's just it does me no good. But B, it's because when I'm here now in the present, then I can help more. And when I travel, I'm not as present and I'm
Mm-hmm.
focused on there. So I don't do as much traveling now because I don't want to know the future. I don't want to know anything. All I want to know is the here and now. So because what I fix now shifts all timelines, past, present, and future.
Oh, that's beautifully stated.
Yep.
Also, how overwhelming is that to know it? You don't want to know everything. And also, don't you like the
Mm-mm.
surprise?
I do.
I do too. I like waking up never knowing what's about to happen.
I like the journey. This is what we're on. We're on a journey. I want to explore and learn and be with this journey. But I tell people you got to realize galactic beings and spirit guides have never been earthly. So they don't understand that.
Right.
They just want to give you all the knowledge, all the information, but you have to have that discernment. And I tell them, if it's something I need to know, there's a sign. My earrings really, really loud. And I'm like, this is something I need to know. And then I use discernment if it's important, if it's not. And when they tell me, and then, I'll write it down. You can't see, but I have a shelf of journals where I just so much. My partner always laughs. She said, when you die, you're going to become famous because of all the information you have.
That's so interesting. That's another interesting question, I think, is when we talk about channeling or writing, automatic writing, I've tried it and I'm always like, I think this is, I don't know if I'm actually channeling or just writing some sort of autocorrect, what is it? Like predictive text kind of thing.
Yeah.
And how do you know? Like, I mean, I think you know, but you could even share how you know. Like, how do you know you're not making it up? How do you know that it's coming from somewhere? How do you know? Sometimes I listen to people channel and I'm like, it all sounds like word salad sometimes. And I'm not discrediting anybody. I just even asking this for myself as a medium. You know, it's we learn how to discern, and so there are signs, right? Because I've had that too with the. I had an important message for someone I was reading, another medium friend of mine, and her grandma needed to say something that was urgent. It was a major apology that was a healing apology that was like deep.
Mm-mm.
And she's telling me this name and telling me this name, and it was an important healing that needed to happen in the family. And suddenly my ears started ringing like never has it
Mm.
been. It was like so loud that it was like, this is not coming from me. And
Yeah,
as soon as I delivered the message, it was like a cork popped
go.
and it was gone. And I was like, that was wild. So sometimes it's like, oh, I know because there are physical symptoms, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes as I'm reading, I'm like, I'm just feeling this, and it's more subtle, and it's not like a big rush of energy or something. So how do you know, and how can like the person who's never channeled before be like, I want to start channeling, or like, what does that mean?
So you want to call in the person you want to channel your energy. I always recommend people if you're going to try to channel or automatic right, call forth your higher self. That's energy you're familiar with. That's energy you can hold. And it's a lot like a Ouija board. When you start automatic writing, you'll notice the pen writes for you. But I'm weird, so I never read when I write it.
Oh,
A
yeah,
lot of I wrote I haven't read. I've just closed it up, and if I need it, I know. Like I'll say, "Well, show me which book is it in."
right.
And then I'll go pull it out and I'll read it. Oh, this makes sense. So you just have to trust it. This is about trust. This comes in with the trust. But in reference to some people, not everybody's made for us. Your discernment kicks in. If they're not in alignment with you, you just know. You're like, they're not in alignment with me. Like there are certain people I listen to and certain that I don't, and I'm kind of like you. I'm like, we're not in alignment. So just my energy field don't need your words. So I don't listen to it.
Oh, yeah, that's so interesting. I talk about this a lot as a medium where how come sometimes certain spirits just hand everything on a platter and it's so easy and it's like they're talking in my ear and I'm literally just delivering, and then other times there's just a block and I'm like, why am I
Hmm.
not getting anything? And I have learned not to judge myself for it, even though I will go from, oh my God, this is so amazing, I should have my own show. And then the next minute I'm like, should be have like top media, America's top medium. And then it's like, the next minute I'm like, am I even a medium? Like, what is, there is nothing here. And so, what do you know or think about that? You said it to a degree, but is it like, why are some souls or higher beings easier than others to communicate, or is it the person that we're reading?
So I believe, from my experience, this is my experience, is that when I have a hard time reading a soul or something,
Yeah.
either when I used to do mediumship a lot, it would be because that soul had not crossed over and they were still holding emotions, anger or resentment, or they didn't like me because of who I was, so they wouldn't talk to me. That automatically told me they have not crossed over. They're still earthbound. They have not went and done their life review. They're not unconditional love because a soul that's of unconditional love gonna talk to you no matter what.
Right. Yeah. That's
So
it.
I've
That's an
learned,
interesting perspective too. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I always ask my guests this, and just whatever comes to mind. I always say, if there's one thing that you want everyone to know, what is that thing?
Unconditional love. Love yourself unconditionally. The purest the purest way to raise your vibration.
Yeah, that's pretty much what everyone says is love really is all there is, like literally. Literally
Mhm.
all there is. Angel, I'm gonna have your website below, but so and there are so many services that Angel does. I'm looking forward to getting a reading from Angel. And I and so you'll have all the information there about how to book sessions, etc. But is there anything else you want to share about what you're doing, what's coming up? Anything else that you'd like to share?
I kind of got a lot of classes coming up. I
Oh,
decided to do a
great.
group class. So I have the Conscious Journey. It's a 12-week class that's coming up. And it's basically everything I do is going to walk you through your healing and give you all the tools. And I also have a quantum healing class coming up, which will teach you how to heal in the quantum realm, which will be 6 weeks, but it's a lot of information. And of course, and then I have a Reiki 1 class, which you could take at any time.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm excited. That's so cool, Angel. I'm so glad we met and connected in this world, in this life, and I look forward to staying in touch with you
Yes.
as a friend. And I thank you so much for showing up and sharing your gifts, your insights, and your heart with me and with my audience. You're just so special, and I'm really really happy to know you.
Thank you for having me, and I absolutely love your energy. Thank you for being you and having me today.
Oh, thank you. This is great. I can't wait to get it up. Thank you so much for this. Hey everyone, I wanted to update you that after my interview with Angel, Angel was kind enough to gift me with a reading, and I can say that I highly, highly recommend Angel as a reader. And I'm not just saying that because I was given such a beautiful gift. I genuinely got a lot out of this reading, and really it wasn't anything I didn't know. It was only validating what I did know, and I'll give you an example. Um, because I think our higher selves usually do know. We have this voice inside of ourselves, whether we're listening to it or not. We're often going, I know, but, or yes, I believe you, but you kind of don't. And I think in this case, it was just the fact that Angel was so spot on with everything that's been on my mind and that I've been saying, that I know that Angel's truly, truly scanning my energy, truly reading my unique imprint. And I'll give you an example. In the beginning of the reading, Angel said to me, what is this fear going on right here on your feminine side? Why are you blocking your feminine side off? Why are you standing in your masculine so much? I feel like this has to do with scarcity. And that's why you're more in your divine masculine right now than your divine feminine. It's so interesting that Angel said that because I had just been telling a friend this, that I find that because, well, that I'm very hyper independent. That's a whole other story. But I'm very hyper independent and I know where that comes from. And that because of that, I feel like, yes, I'm very girly in a lot of ways, but that I'm leaning into my masculine all the time by hyper functioning, working so hard, working all the time. And even in, I'm always, and I'm just feeling like I'm giving a lot, but not giving a lot to myself. And so I'm just completely drained. And that is exactly what Angel touched on and said. Angel said that I needed to stop over giving. And that's so hard for me because I think that's my whole nature is I am a Virgo, I am a Capricorn. Those are two highly driven, motivated, hardworking signs, but I do have a Cancer moon. And I just love people and I care for people so much. And I wouldn't say that I overfunction. I do have really healthy boundaries now, but there's still the part of me that just has trouble saying no. And I'm in a lot of service jobs as an actor. I work part time as a nanny, a dog walker, and so these are all these caring jobs that actually where my heart gets involved. And what Angel had said was, "You're ready to." What did they say? It was something about like boom like a rocket, and I've been feeling that. And they said that the problem is that right now I'm giving so much that I don't have anything left for myself and I'm sort of leaking energy. And that has been exactly the theme of the past few months, which is why specifically I had just put in notice at my nanny job lovingly. I love them. I love the baby. I just felt like I'm depleted and I don't have enough to give. I'm just drained, even though I love the job, even though I love what I do. And so that may not be interesting to you because it's about me. But I wanted to let you know that everything that Angel said resonated. I just kept saying, wow, that's so funny. Yep, that's so true. They also told me, you're writing a book. I hear bestseller. I said, I am writing a book. Uh, but I've been too depleted to write. I've probably done maybe like, I feel like I might have a quarter left of the book to write, but I just haven't had any energy. I'm just so exhausted. And I have trouble saying no to people when they need me. So everything Angel said was really spot on to a point where it was like, yeah, I already told myself that. Yeah, I already knew that. Um, but it was validating. So, and the fact that Angel didn't know any of this going on and still nailed it to me was evidence that Angel's a true reader, really can see the entire universe. And it just really helped me in moving forward because it's things I know I need to let go of, things I know I need to do to get to that next level. But it's all been on my mind. And it was just very confirming and validating that I can trust, I can move forward bravely and take some risks, which is what I'm doing right now. So I loved the reading. I can highly recommend Angel. So please do set up an appointment. You won't be sorry. And thank you again for watching. Thank you for commenting, liking, subscribing, engaging, sharing this podcast with people that you think might appreciate it. I love you all so much. And I'll see you in the next one.